Hey, how's it going? So, this here is Anna, and she's a nurse over in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was already more than an hour past her shift, but she stuck around the hospital because a patient had ended up in the ICU from a bite. She thought that was pretty weird, eh? Anyway, she went home to spend the night with her boyfriend, Louise. After a shower and fooling around a bit, things started to get real strange. Kimberly, Louise's daughter, woke up acting super weird, like she was contaminated with something. Louise asked Anna to call 911, but the girl just went and bit him on the neck. It looked like she had some kind of creature in her, so Anna locked the bedroom door and tried to help Louise out, but the wound was just way too serious. She really needed to call for emergency services, but the phone just wasn't working. All of a sudden, Louise gets up like he's a zombie or something, trying to grab her. She locked herself in the bathroom and he started trying to rip the door off with his bare hands. The only thing Anna could do was to escape through the window. Complete chaos had already taken over the whole neighborhood, and everywhere she looked, things were only getting worse. She floored it in her car, with her now zombie boyfriend trying to smash through the windshield. Everywhere she drove past was just full of contaminated people, and some even tried to steal her car. Because of all this, Anna ended up getting in an accident and crashed her car right into a tree, just like in every zombie flick. Nobody knows for sure what the virus is or even how it spreads. The only thing they really knew was that it was a global pandemic. The Secretary of Health had no idea if the infected people were actually dead or alive, and that's when the whole situation went from bad to way worse in just a matter of days. Billions of contaminated people all over the world became extremely violent, and it was pretty rare to find anyone who survived. Anna was one of the lucky ones, eh? She got out of her car and ran into a police officer, Kenneth, who wanted to know if she was a zombie or not. She told him no, and so they took off from there together. A little further on, they found 3 other people: Andre with his pregnant wife, Luda, and a guy named Michael. They told the cop that the path he was on was super dangerous because that's exactly where they were coming from, and that the only safe place around was the shopping mall. So, Kenneth and Anna decided to go with them. As soon as they got there, they saw zombies completely surrounding the place. They tried to break down the door, and once inside, the phones weren't working, of course. They managed to get into one of the hardware stores, and to get access to the rest of the mall, they actually used a toilet to smash through the glass. So then they started checking out the mall and stopped at a water fountain to clean themselves up a bit. Andre and Michael went off to check if the area was secure. Michael ended up in a sporting goods store, and Andre went to one of the access doors. Over there, he got a huge scare because a zombie popped up, but he was safe and it couldn't get through. Meanwhile, Michael found one of the janitors in the back having a little snack on another employee, who immediately went right after him. At the same time, the others back at the fountain were also getting attacked. One zombie, after biting the pregnant woman, went right after the cop, who got hurt pretty bad. Michael took care of the janitor zombie, and Anna, using the officer's gun, put that thing down for good. They all ran for the elevator, and that's when they discovered they weren't the only survivors in the mall, because a security team was waiting for them there. It turned out to be the mall cops who were on shift and got trapped inside. CJ was their leader, and he and his buddies argued that the newcomers had to leave. But since they dug in their heels and wouldn't budge, the security guards told them they could stay, but only on one condition. They had to hand over all their weapons. So they went in and saw on the TV that things outside had gotten a whole lot worse. They took advantage of Anna's nursing skills to patch up some wounds. So then, Michael had a chat with CJ to check all the entrances and weak spots and to put some kind of sign up on the roof. So the other guards went to check out the mall, and they found another security guard who had been contaminated and attacked Kenneth. CJ ended his suffering and also took care of the janitor from the washroom. They made a sign for the roof, and up there they found Andy from the gun store across the way. He let them know a chopper was coming, but the military just flew right by, and they were left wondering if they'd come back for them or not. Since they didn't return, the only plan was to stay put and spend the night in the mall. Andre was totally fine with that, since he really wanted to take care of his pregnant wife, Luda. But Michael, who was a TV salesman, wanted to figure out a way to get out of there. Kenneth was mostly just worried about finding his brother once they got out of there. On the TV, they just kept saying the same old things about the contamination. And even a pastor came on saying it was the apocalypse on earth, because when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. In the morning, it was Terry's turn for a shift. He walked by the store and saw that the others were locked in. Anna really needed to use the washroom, and he sorted it out for her. But as soon as he went to check the security cameras, he saw a truck barreling towards the mall at high speed. Because of this, CJ wanted to be a dictator about it, laying down the law. He said those people were not getting into his mall, and even threatened everyone, saying he'd kill them all to survive if he had to. For that reason, the others jumped him and left him tied up, deciding they would absolutely help whoever was in that truck. The truck pulled a pretty weird maneuver to park. Michael had the brilliant idea to go out and help, but it turned out they were okay and there were another 6 people in the vehicle. The only option was to kill a few zombies and make a run for it inside the mall. There was a woman who was really weak, contaminated, and close to death. According to the group, they were coming from Fort Pastor, the very place Kenneth wanted to go to find his brother. He got all stressed out, thinking he'd never find anyone again, and passed the info to Andy, who saw that things were even worse than he thought. At least he made a buddy there. In the group, there was also a guy named Frank who'd been bitten on the hand, and his daughter. The really weak woman, who apparently didn't even have a name, finally died. But, of course, she was infected, and just a few seconds later, she got right back up and went after Anna. Luckily, using a fire poker, Anna managed to kill the zombie. According to Anna, the infection came from the bites, and anyone in the group who had been bitten had to be isolated. They announced that Frank had been bitten, so Michael immediately wanted to kill him right there in the mall. The problem was that the girl, Nicole, his daughter, only had him left, because the rest of her family was dead. Because of that, Michael was on the fence about whether to kill him or not. But they had no choice. He was taken to another store, said goodbye to his daughter, and Kenneth was tasked with finishing him. He took a moment to enjoy his last few seconds, and then he died, and the one who dealt with his zombie version was the cop. A few days went by. Andy and Kenneth became good buddies and even played chess together. And hey, if you're stuck there, why not have a bit of fun, right? They pretty much did whatever they wanted. CJ and Bart were still locked up. Another game they found to pass the time was to shoot zombies that looked like famous celebrities. The person who was isolated and acting different these days was Luda, Andre's wife. He wouldn't let anyone see the girl. After supper, the lights in the mall went out. Since Luda had been bitten, Andre had tied her to the bed. Michael let CJ and Bart out to help them check on the power, and Kenneth went along with them. But what they found downstairs was just a little puppy. Seconds later, though, a zombie jumped on Bart's back and bit him. They had to run for it, but poor Bart was devoured. They had to unload their shotguns on the zombies. Since there was a fuel pump right there, Michael started splashing gas on the contaminated, and CJ lit his lighter, taking care of them for the time being. Luda couldn't fight off the infection and eventually died, but Andre was desperate to have his baby. Even with Luda turning into a zombie just minutes later, he put a muzzle on her so she couldn't bite him while he tried to deliver his child. Norma, the truck driver, went to see him. Andre was holding his daughter, but according to him, she was stillborn. Norma got spooked by Luda because she was a zombie tied to the bed and shot her without a second thought. Because of that, Andre did the same thing back to her, and they ended up in a shootout with each other. And just like that, they both died. As soon as the others arrived, they realized they had only been shot and not bitten, so they wouldn't turn into zombies. But when Anna saw the baby, she was horrified because the big surprise was that it had been born as a zombie. How crazy is that? Anna worked up the courage and killed the zombie baby. Afterwards, they went to have a funeral. Nobody could think of any words of comfort. The only thing Kenneth said was that maybe they wouldn't get out of that place alive. But Anna put her foot down and declared she was not going to die in that mall. And it was from that moment they came up with a plan. Down in the garage, there were 2 shuttle buses they could use to get out of there. One of the survivors, this jerk Steve, had a boat. They could head down to the marina, grab Steve's boat, and try their luck out on the water, since it was way less likely to find any infection out there. Okay, so it was time to get their hands dirty and customize the buses with armor, weapons, and everything else. Everyone was on board with the plan, even Andy, the fella from the gun store. As soon as Kenneth mentioned they only had 5 days left before leaving, Andy said he was starving. Then a whole argument started about how they were going to feed Andy, since he was important because he was a crack shot. But nobody wanted to risk their own skin to take food to him. So they put some food on the little dog and, with a whistle, Andy called it over. But as soon as the dog got there, one of the zombies managed to get inside too and apparently attacked Andy. He got on the radio and said that one of them had bit him. Since the puppy was now trapped over there and terrified of losing her little pet, Nicole went after it in a truck. But things were about to get even more complicated because Andy was already contaminated and it looked like she was about to be eaten. Then they had the brilliant idea to just go through the streets to the gun store to save her. I mean, if they could have done that, why didn't they do it before? But this time, they went through the sewers. They came out near the store and, After freaking out a bit, they faced a few zombies. They got inside Andy's store. He was there, already turned, trying to smash the door down with his body to get at Nicole. Kenneth blew his zombie friend's head clean off. They saved Nicole and Chips, the little dog. CJ then used a small propane tank to create a massive explosion. On the way back, though, Tucker got hurt climbing down into the sewers, and even with CJ trying to pull him up, Tucker was swarmed and eaten by the zombies. Since Steve wouldn't open the door, it was Anna who saved the whole crew. But the mall was now completely infested with the undead. The only way out was to stick with the bus plan. They made it to the vehicles and everyone piled in. The challenge now was to get through the massive horde of zombies surrounding the mall, and even the chainsaw wasn't doing much. CJ, once again, used another cylinder and, this time for sure, with the huge explosion it made, he cleared a path for the bus. But even with the path clear, what followed was a series of unbelievable mistakes. For starters, they took off at top speed for no reason at all. Since there was a zombie on the back bumper, instead of going slow to deal with it, they gunned it to try and shake it off. Glenn, trying to be the hero, grabbed the chainsaw, but with a lurch from the bus, he ended up hitting Monica, slicing her right in half, and the commotion made the bus flip over. Honestly, I've never seen such a boneheaded move, and there weren't even any zombies chasing them. The other bus stopped to save them, but this time, the jerk was Steve, who didn't help Kenneth and got himself grabbed by a zombie. As soon as everyone managed to get out of the flipped bus, Anna kept the promise that they would kill Steve if he turned into a zombie. In the middle of all the madness, Anna somehow managed to grab the key to the boat. So, when they got to the marina, CJ stayed behind to buy his friends some time to get away. He lured the zombies into the bus and then blew up the gas cylinder. Finally, they reached Steve's boat, but Michael couldn't get on because he'd been bitten. He told Anna he was just going to stay and enjoy the sunset for his last few minutes. As they pulled away, Michael waved his last goodbye. The others sailed on, but some of the last recordings of the survivors showed they were adrift for months without water, food or fuel, and then the boat died completely. They eventually reached an island, but it was infested and most likely nobody survived. And that's how Dawn of the Dead wraps up, a classic zombie flick from the 2000s. And I see you in the next video.